Hey guys, I'm back with another video, and today I have a haul of the next phase of fall stuff that's supposed to come out at Bath & Body Works. So I believe there is a floor set, a mini one on Thursday, and then one on Sunday night. So then everything should be out for next Monday is I believe what it is. And it's all like the Kate's Autumn stuff, the candles that we're all intrigued about. I have the two new ones that are interesting, as well as the Fairytale body care. So if you're interested in any of that, then stay tuned. So the first candle we have is Old Fashioned Cider Donut, and that's what that looks like right there. It has like a tan colored wax on it, and it has a white lid on it, and that's what that looks like. This one says Old Fashioned Cake Donut, Baked Apple Sprinkled with Brown Sugar Cinnamon. And yeah, so this one, I think a lot of us were wondering if it was the same as the old cider donut that was out in, was it 2013 or 14? That one I had one of. It was just decent. It got really grody and nasty during the mid-range. It was one and done for me, because just like the second half of it was so grody and nasty that I was just like, I don't really care for this. And that one was really similar to Apple Crumble, which is also kind of similar to Pumpkin Apple as well. They were all in the same family. And it was just like Apple Crumble already existed in that time frame as well. I think there was a Spiced Pumpkin Cider, which was really good too, which was also a similar fragrance. There was a lot of like similar fragrances in that time frame, that it was just like a one and done for me. So then when I saw this one come back, of course I was curious, but I was like, you know what, I'd be fine with whether or not it was new or if it was a repackage of the old one, and hopefully maybe with a new burn performance, since the old one did dead out. But after having smelled it, this is a new or different fragrance. It's not the same as the original cider donut. Neither here nor there as to whether or not one's better than the other. I don't know, they're just two different takes of a cider donut fragrance. Basically, what you get is a like really sweet apple that is kind of like drenched in like a brown sugar type of glaze, or almost like a cooked brown sugar apple that's starting to caramelize. There's a sweet like caramel component in here that is kind of similar to Cider Lane, which Cider Lane is like a caramel apple cider fragrance. This has a similar, like, you know, spices of the like cider, so to speak, mixed with like a sort of like slightly sweet caramel apple fragrance. And then finally you get a little bit of like a cake donut note is what you get. It's not overly greasy like cinnamon sugar donut is, or cinnamon spice vanilla, but there is a slight cake donut component in here, and that's pretty much what you get. It's different from the old cider donut in that I believe the old cider donut wasn't so much like a Cider Lane type of caramel apple fragrance. It was more just like a crisp apple with a, I guess, stronger donut note that I felt like was maybe a little bit better or original than this. But once again, neither here nor there on whether or not like one or the other. Yeah, this one just kind of smells like something that we've smelled from BBW before, which is kind of like, it's starting to become the case where it's like, even if it's a new fragrance, it's just like different fragrance oils that we've smelled before from Bath & Body Works just mixed together in a new mashup. And I feel like this is what this kind of is. It also reminds me of, oh my gosh, no one's gonna remember, there was a Holiday Apple Crisp, I believe, candle. Was it in the Made with Love collection, possibly? That was a test scent that did not go wide, but the wallflower went wide of it, and I did buy that one because I was like, well, hello, I want the one test new fragrance in that collection. So I did buy the wallflower, and that was like a heavy like brown sugar crumble plus cinnamon apple fragrance, and this really smells close to the Holiday Apple Crisp, if anybody remembers that. But yeah, it's like kind of like a Cider Lane, slightly caramel, slightly apple fragrance mixed with a little bit of like a cinnamon donut note in like a very like cakey donut kind of way. And that's what this smells like. It's kind of, I guess, expected, but yeah, so it's an old-fashioned cider donut right there. As it differs to hot cider donut from Homework, which is incredibly popular, that's what this one looks like. This one is Harvest Apple, Cinnamon Sugar, Vanilla, and Spice Cider. I think this one's better in my opinion. Where I feel like this is kind of like a mashup of different fragrance oils made to emulate a cider donut, so it's kind of like a home fragrance interpretation, whereas this is more like a very realistic and authentic experience, where the cider has that like very crisp, almost like fermented feel to it. The cider note on it is a little bit more authentic and crisp. And the donut is also, the cinnamon is like so sharp and prominent, but like in a very realistic sprinkled cinnamon sugar kind of way. Like you're really opening the bag of donuts and you smell a very crisp like apple cider note mixed with like the greasiness, but not too greasy, and a very realistic like cinnamon sugar sprinkling on top of it, and it just like captures captures that whole experience. This is kind of like the actual, like, they took the headspace of the back of that cider donut, whereas this is kind of like we took some fragrance oils that are like home fragrance oils and like sort of mashed up something to emulate a cider donut. It's kind of like that's the difference. I feel like hot cider donut is a little bit better executed, to be honest. So if you do want a really excellent hot cider donut fragrance, there's the 4-wig version at Ulta that's available pretty consistently, and maybe on Homeworks.shop as well. So that's hot cider donut right there. Yeah, 2 different fragrances, obviously similar fragrances because they're cider donuts, but I feel like the Homeworks one is maybe a little bit better than the old-fashioned cider donut is. So there was that. The next one that is like new is Pumpkin Cinnamon Bun right here, and that's what that looks like. That's that, and then it has that colored wax, and this one has a chrome lid for some reason, whereas all the other ones were white. This is warm cinnamon roll, pumpkin spice, vanilla frosting, and that's what that looks like. Kind of underwhelmed with this, to be honest. There was the old pumpkin cinnamon bun that came out, was in the Pumpkin Cafe collection. It might have come out another year after or prior to that, that I bought, I think, both times, and it smelled decent on cold, and it kind of smelled like a pumpkin cinnamon bun, but when you go to burn it, there was like the most nasty, like fried, oily, old grease note, like old chicken grease that's been stuck in the fryer for like way past its like date or whatever, and just like really old like chicken grease is what it smelled like, and it was just really oily and like rancid, like sort of like rotten or like expired oily like nuts in the pantry, kind of like that as well, and it was just really not good when you went to burn it, and I really didn't enjoy that. So I was like, I hope this is an improved version, and while I'm happy to report that it's not that oily, old, greasy one, it's just kind of like run-of-the-mill generic cinnamon bakery fragrance that I feel like I've smelled a gajillion times before. It kind of smells like sugared snickerdoodle. It has that type of vibe to it. It has that like slight like pumpkin pecan waffles, praline pecan cobbler base to it. Yeah, it smells a lot like that sugared snickerdoodle. But even though there's a pumpkin snickerdoodle also coming out, which also smells very similar to sugared snickerdoodle, so I don't really know. I don't really get any pumpkin whatsoever. It's just like a generic cinnamon bakery fragrance in the realm of sugared snickerdoodle. Actually, I would be totally upset if this actually ended up being sugared snickerdoodle because I really don't need another one. Kind of like, you know, was it cinnamon pumpkin swirl, caramel pumpkin swirl, or cinnamon caramel swirl, whatever that is. Just that usual like run-of-the-mill cinnamon bakery fragrance. It doesn't really evoke truly a cinnamon bun as the, what was it, glazed cinnamon bun or glazed cinnamon roll, whatever that past glazed cinnamon bun fragrance we had when like passion fruit vanilla cupcake came out in the springtime in that like the bake shop collection. That I felt like I actually really enjoyed that one. That one really smelled like authentically and spot on to like a cinnamon bun experience that you would get. You got the glaze icing or frosting over it, and there was even a slight orange zest note, where some cases like cinnamon buns have like a orange zest infused glaze on it, and it had that like slightly uniqueness to it that made it seem very like distinctly cinnamon bun, whereas this kind of just smells like a generic old could be a cinnamon cookie, could be a cinnamon bakery, whatever fragrance, and I'm not really too impressed by it. It's just very run-of-the-mill and like common, and that's what pumpkin cinnamon bun is right there. And those were the 2 candles. Yeah, I feel like, I don't know, BBW is kind of like just stuck in a repackaging thing, or if it's new, it's just like different old candles just mashed up in a different fashion or different like, you know, combination, and that's what we get now, and I guess that works. They're selling really well, obviously, and they're super popular, so I guess to like the mass audience, you know, playing it safe and just creating these same old fragrances over and over again, which is very, very, very slight tweaks and always playing it safe, is just their game and their business model now, and I guess I can't really like hate on that, because it makes money for them and hello, they're a business. But like from somebody who's, you know, just been doing it for a while, or who's like a really like hardcore fragrance enthusiast, it'd just be nice to have something just new or out of the box or different. That BBW just kind of like just the same old these days, and that's just my thoughts on those 2 candles. So I'll have to burn it, and maybe like it'll be like pineapple pound cake, where pineapple pound cake was really underwhelming on cold, but when you go to burn it, it's a lot better. Maybe that'll be the case with this, but I don't know. Right now, I'm not too impressed with either of those. The only other like new ones worth talking about, there was a Harvest Linen in the other wraparound collection. I was hoping for something like that soft cashmere blanket thing, was it Comfort or whatever it was, in that like Nook and Soft Pink Petal Tea Cake collection for Candle Day. I was hoping for like something like that mixed with like vanilla balsam, but it was not at all like that. There was really no softness to it. It was very harsh and intense and astringent. It was like that fresh cotton candle that we had before, which smells like sort of like laundry detergent, like straight up like Balsa Walls fresh cotton, mixed with just maybe a smidge of pine. That's even hard to pick out if it wasn't even listed on there, but I felt like it was somewhere in the back that maybe when you go to burn it you'll smell a little bit. But like that pine was also very sharp and astringent as well, so it just kind of blended in with the sharp astringency of the fresh cotton candle, and that was pretty much all I was getting for it. So Harvest Linen, it seemed like it'd be like, you know, unique or interesting, but it just smells like another like run-of-the-mill fresh cotton linen type of fragrance, and that's what that was. Autumn Day has like new notes of apple in it now, which it never used to be. Autumn Day's been out like many times before. It was originally Acorn and Fig back in the Slacken & Co days, and I never really enjoyed that one. Every time I smelled it, I was just always like, oh, I don't really care for this, and I was always turning my nose at it. I even got it for the 25-cent Candle Scandal, and even for 25 cents, I was like, I really don't even. I got it because it was 25 cents, but I didn't really enjoy burning it because I was just like, oh, it's still very Autumn Day to me. So Autumn Day still smelled the same, so if you are a fan of Autumn Day, I wouldn't let the apple note deter you, because at least on cold it smelled very similar to what I remember it smelling like. And I think that's it for the candles. Everything else is just repackaged business as usual, so there's nothing to really talk about there. So it was just these two candles, and that was the end of it. And then moving on to body care, it's the new Signature Collection standalone release. And that is Fairytale right there. It has kind of like an Alice in Wonderland theme to it, and that's what that looks like. Yeah, I smelled all the other body care, or a lot of the other body care that was like new. Ivory Cashmere just smelled like every other like cashmere fragrance, like Snowflakes and Cashmere or whatever. Autumn Violets was just another fall floral. Raspberry Chiffon was your usual cutesy sweetsy pink velvet cupcake slash like pink berry clouds type of that slot of fragrance. There was Wrapped in Sunshine, which was decent. That one was probably actually my favorite. It had a very juicy citrus note with just a little bit more extra like woodsy floralness to it that I enjoyed, but still kind of similar to like Wild Citrus Sunflower or even like that Marigold and Cane Sugar thing. Your usual like bright citrus autumn fragrance was what that was. And then Crisp Morning Air, I don't really use the soap or the pocket back, so I can't really talk about what it smells like there, but that was kind of like those like sort of green apple infused fresh clean type of unisex fragrance, and the route of like Sweater Weather or that Blue Orchard Skies thing or the green apple orchard thing that came out that one year. It was like that slot of fragrance. And I feel like even the body care, it's like kudos to Bath & Body Works for putting out a lot of body care at once and creating a ton of like new fragrances, but they all are just so similar to one another that it's like once you have one, it's like you pretty much have like a similar fragrance category or a similar fragrance family to that fragrance in your collection already. It's kind of like been there, done that, already got a similar shower gel in my collection in the closet. So even the body care, I feel like is very redundant. Like, yeah, they're creating new fragrances, but they're all just so similar. It's like they have like a formula of, we have 4 fragrances and each one has to fill a slot of this certain type of fragrance family or category, and then they just like ever so slightly tweak something they've had before and then put it into those slots, put a new label and name and marketing on it, and then push it out. And I think people just love having something that's new with a new label, a new name, and new notes, so it works and it sells for them. But I feel like a lot of it is just so redundant and just repetitive at this point, and I'm just like, okay, I really don't need any of that. And then so now we have Fairytale, which is also very similar to stuff that we've had before. This is Pomegranate Nectar, Fresh Orange Blossom, Vanilla Bean, and Warm Amber. Write your own story and get whisked away on an adventure through lush woods where the air is filled with magic and the fairy tale ending is up to you. Yeah, it's like I feel like I've smelled this before too. It's kind of similar to Dahlia. It has that type of like warm autumn floral mixed with a little bit of a like dark fruit is what I get from it. It's not Orange Blossom in the way that it'd be like a tropical orange blossom that has a little bit more of those metallic notes, or it's a little bit more earthy or green. It's not quite like that. It's more of the perfumey type of orange blossom. So I do get a first and foremost very floral component to it, but it's kind of smooth, soft, and velvety is the way I get it. It's kind of like they took the velvety notes of an orange blossom. So it's not a true orange blossom, but there's a floral mixture there that's giving it like a heady, perfumey vibe. And of course it smells perfumey, and that's because it has floral notes in it. So I do get the orange blossom in there. There's a slight sweetness that I can't really say is pomegranate nectar. I don't even know if I would ever go there if it wasn't listed, but it's listed first, so I'm sure people will be like, oh my god, there's pomegranate in it, so I gotta get it. there's just something slightly fruity about it, but it's like a dark fruit rather than a really bright, juicy fruit. And then you get your usual BBW body care type of slightly mature vanilla and amber. And that's what it smells like. I would say Dahlia is very much in the similar fragrance family. When it dries down, I sometimes get like Bombshell, Victoria's Secret's Bombshell vibes. I don't know how or why, but I've had that candle before, and there was somebody at work who used to wear it all the time. It kind of reminds me of Bombshell. I don't know, I guess it's just that usual floral fruity blend, and there's a slightly like masculine vibe to it as well. That's yeah, kind of just in there. Yeah, and then sometimes it also reminds me of the Peace Ice Vanilla Woods thing, which was like a frosted lavender plus vanilla blend. So maybe there's something a little bit sharp or herbal in here that also comes off as lavender. I don't know, but that's my take on it. I used it in the shower. It was plenty strong. It was fine. It just smelled like another run-of-the-mill BBW body care fragrance. Nothing like, oh my god, amazing. But it was floral and pleasant enough. And that's what Fairytale was for me. And that's what that was. There's a single wick candle coming out of that, but not a 3-wick. If there was a 3-wick, you know, I'd be all about it, but a single wick I don't really have any interest in. And then there's just the full extended lineup of that as well. And I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, sorry to be like a Debbie Downer with like all these repackages, but it's just, I don't know, let me know your thoughts. Like, do you feel like BBW is just like stuck in a rut of just repackaging all the time? But it's not even really a rut because it's what works for them, and people just like similar fragrances. Like, if the other ones were popular and they sold well, why do they need to deviate too much from their proven formula and just like, let's put new names and labels and marketing and mood on it, and just ever so slightly tweak these fragrances, put it out there, and people just want to buy and consume more of it rather than something that's like unique or different. So it works for them, and that's their business model, so it is what it is. So let me know your thoughts on that down below. Let me know your thoughts on the candles, or if you plan on getting Fairytale. I will try to burn through these and of course do reviews. And lastly, a special shout out to Empat Echo, Jane Carr, and Shantae. Of course, thank you guys so much for your super thanks on my recent videos. I totally appreciate that, and just very generous of you guys, so thank you guys so much for that. And I think that's pretty much it. So thanks so much for watching, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.